Hi everyone, it's Claire. So it's video response in English today. I don't do a lot of video in English because it's more complicated for me, and I have to think of the words, and and also for this type of video I have to overthink and find the good words to explain what I want to share with you. So first I apologize because my English is not the best one, but as Natalia did the video in English, I wanted to do the video response in English. So I will do the first one on tarot. I don't know if I will do the other one, but I wanted to share my 7 guides, the 7 tarot I have chosen as guides. During the French video, I have something appeared to me. The metaphor she uses as we are in a castle and we've got the queen, and then you've got the 7 counselors. I have a little bit transformed it as a quest. I did some role play, and also I do lots of video games, and so I used to be part of what we called guilds. Yes, in English it's guilds. And for me, I've got this vision of being in a quest and choosing people to. I am the queen. I am not the queen. I am responsible for the quest, and I choose people to be with me to go to the castle and find a treasure or things like this. So this is the way I have transformed it, and I quite like it. So for people who are doing video games or who did role play in the past, I'm sure you understand me. So you've got the person in charge of the guild, and then you choose people to help you for this quest. I have chosen 7 tarot decks that are quite different. Most of them have big guidebooks, and in fact most of the time the decks I choose to guide me in a profound way, to do something very profound. They have very large guidebooks, because I feel that this is the way I connected with them. So these are not the decks I use the most, except 1 or 2, but most of them, especially some of them that are quite complicated, I need to take my time, so I don't use them to use them for others when I do spreads for others, and I don't use them also to have a quick response. So the first one I have chosen is a Tarot de Marseille. So I am French, so I have started cartomancy with Tarot de Marseille. This is the oldest tarot I've had, not this one. I started with the Jodorowsky one. So I have created a quite a link to this tarot, to this type of tarot that are very profound. And also after, so I've used Tarot de Marseille for very long time, almost something like 10 years. I only had Tarot de Marseille to work with, and I worked only on the majors archetypes. When I have discovered Rider-Waite, I found it super funny, super interesting, as I think that each tarot gives a sort of picture of when it was created. And so what I like in this tarot is that so it speaks of the 17th century, because it was created in 1650. In 1650, yes, and so it's for me it's the roots of tarot, even if it's not really the roots, because you've got the tarot for princes like Visconti Sforza that are older than these ones, but in my mind it's the roots and it's the oldest one. So I use Tarot de Marseille for connecting this part of ancient wisdom. Now I have reworked on Tarot de Marseille for many years also, but more in a way of I use the minors too. So the minors are really interesting for me, as they also talk about the roots, because you've got plants. And as in ancient time, the Tarot de Marseille speak with enigma and with symbols, lots of symbols, old symbols, because during these times there were not that much people speaking that can read words and write. In the end of the Middle Age, not everybody can read text, so there are lots of symbols, as we can see in churches. Also you've got enigma through these symbols, and it was also a way to express things without being without having problems with the church. So the Tarot de Marseille is also is coming from my ancestors, as I am from I'm coming from a Christian esoteric lineage. I mean, I'm French, and most of my ancestors were in the Middle Age from this way of thinking, way of living. So for me, this is, I mean, Tarot de Marseille is just incredible, because you can work, I've worked quite a lot on esoteric symbols and trying to find images from the Middle Age that looks like the images we can see in the Tarot de Marseille. So this is history, but also nowadays you can do very funny things with Tarot de Marseille, and they are really expressive. You've got very expressive visage, I mean, no, faces, sorry, and you can write stories when you see this, just like in a comic. You've got images, and or you've got, so you can see images, one and then the other, one after the other, or you can see a sort of painting, and you've got a scene you can look at and have the answer through the scene. So it's very visual, and also you can use them now. I use the 78 cards. You have information through this, because you've got the number, and how you've got the cups, for instance, how they are, what's happening, and then through the shapes, through the vegetables, no, not vegetables, sorry, through the vegetables, no, because in French, plants, we say végétaux, so no, it's not vegetables, it's not the good word in English. So through the plants, you see how it grows. So you can see here you've got one that is inside, so you can see protection, or you can see oppression, and you can see that this transformed into this, so what can it mean? And I love this way of it's sort of enigma, and I love this. It's sort of just like in video games, and then you've got some well, in Sherlock Holmes, you've got this, you find this, and you say, well, what could it mean? And then you take time and say, yeah, say this, and then I think you've got to understand this, and then you have to go this way. And so I love this. There's something playful in the Tarot de Marseille that I really like. Also, I find it really beautiful. And this one is really gorgeous. So for me, if I would say what kind of person it is, I would say it is Gandalf. Like Gandalf from the Lord of the Rings. So he's an old, it is a very old person, an old man with a big beard, and he's saying things, he knows things, but he doesn't say everything. You have to understand things by yourself using the clues you've got on the card, or the little details, and then you have to find your own answer. And it is a very wise one, it is a very old one. For me, it's the connection with my ancestors, with my Gandalf grandfather, and so this one is Gandalf. So it is the Jean Noblet. It's not an historical deck. It was restored. It was a little bit transformed by Jean-Claude Flornoy, and really like it. Okay, so this is the first one. The second one is the El Goliath Tarot. So the author of this tarot is quite is very intense, there's something quite dark, not in the bad way, but something is like is working with the matter, how can I say, I don't know the name in English, is working with the earth. It's very earthy, and at the same time you can see something very spiritual. So he works on spirits and matter, and he works in black and white. And for me, this is a very shamanic and witchy deck. Witchy in the sense of when I take this deck, I have the impression of having a witch, an old witch, with a cauldron. You mean the thing you put everything on it to cook, and so the cauldron is important to do the transformation. So this is for me, this deck is a witch. It would be represented by the witch who makes transformation. Not easy transformation, difficult transformation. You put everything and you need to transform, you need to cook, it takes time, it takes, you need to be just, you need to put the good level, the good weight of ingredients. You have to pay a lot of attention, and you are in something that is not, it is not a very clean deck. It's something you are in the dust. You are in the mood. No, the mud. You work with the mud. You work with all that needs to be transformed. That is not clean. That is dark. That has to be transformed. That also has to be transformed in earth in order to make things grow again. And I had a vision during Sudation hut, and my body was going in the earth, transformed into earth, just like when you die, you transform into dust, into earth, and from this they were growing flowers. And this tarot is really reminds me this type of work. So you work with, yes, you work with dust, you work with blood, you work with dirty things. It's and dirty and incarnated things, because it's not an angelic deck. It's a deck about the earth and the incarnation and the body and how we transform the body, and not only the physical body but also the psyche, and how we transform, how we make beautiful things from a dark point of view. Just like you've got a seed, the seed is in the dark, in the earth, and then you've got a beautiful flower that is going to grow, but first the seed has to be in the dark. So this is my witchy deck, the witch, like maybe Keridwen, with the cauldron, and then the cauldron of transformation. When I do also meditation, I most of the time work with this vision of cauldron inside me and a transformation. So I really love this deck. And it's very different from the first one. The third one is the Alice Tarot. So it could be quite a surprise for some people, but for me it's really an interesting deck. This is a deck that speaks about madness, speak about fullness, speak about how to see things differently. And for me, if it would be a person, it would be the fool of the king. I don't know how it's called in English, but it's the fool that is with the king, and that can say anything, that looks like mad, and it looks funny, but he say very profound things. And for me, this deck is seeing a point of view that is crazy. So it talks to our craziness, it talks about our madness, and it talks about norms. So we have norms, we have a way of understanding the life, and sometimes we are blocked in this understanding, in this vision of life. I've got the understanding of what is going on for us as human. I think we are in the illusion of the matter. So when we are too much in the illusion of the matter and we believe too much on what we think, then I need this deck to see me another point of view, a crazy point of view, and then I can go out of what I think. It's a way of seeing things, of approaching the truth. It makes me think of the work I do with Byron Katie. It is called The Work, and I really like this way of approaching the mind and what we are thinking, and asking each time, is it true? So is it true that things are dangerous? Is it true that a mother has to be lovely? Is it true that each time I've got is it true that life is like we think? I mean, I work quite a lot with fairies. So I've written an oracle about fairies, and I'm doing things about fairies, and sometimes my logical mind say, but does fairy exist? So is it true that fairy exists? Is it true that fairy doesn't exist? And you've got yes and no in each questions, and this is this craziness of incertitude. It's just that things for me in the deep level, things are not what they look like. So each time you think something and you've got an idea of something, it's a way of seeing the truth, but it's not the truth. So you can see things different ways. Like in France, we've got the Mont Blanc, and when you see the Mont Blanc from the France, you've got a certain shape of the Mont Blanc. But when you go to Italy and you see the Mont Blanc, the shape is totally different. But you see the same thing. So there are norms to see things, and this, so norms for me, it's the way of seeing the Mont Blanc from the France. And this one is going to Italy and seeing the Mont Blanc and the truth of Mont Blanc in a different way. And this gives me openness. This allows me to be crazy, to know what I'm doing when to allow me to open my mind to different things, and to allow a part of me to exist. This part of me that was well developed when I was a kid, and then I had problems to live when I studied chemistry and I became a chemical engineer. And then it helps me having this voice of not seeing the things as they seems to be, or all people see them. So I love the way, where is it? The Empress is shown. Where is it? It's not a motherly. It's not what we call a doudou deck, a very sweet deck. No, it shakes you, and you've got, for instance, it asks you questions about. Here you see justice. So justice. What is justice? When a cat is eating a mouse, is this justice? What kind of justice do we want? What is really justice? What is just? And I love this card because it questions us about justice. I love the card of the Empress, but will I find it? Where is she? No. May have. Okay, so this is a wonderful card to question what is a mother, what is supposed to be a mother, what are the energy of the mother, does she look like, what is a good mother, and so I love this tarot. As yes, it's a challenging tarot, and it asks questions. So I've got the book, and I think the book is a very good addition to the deck, because you've got each time the Rider-Waite-Smith meaning, and then the Alice meaning that is quite often really different. Then you've got the link with the story and some notes related to the story, and so. I think it's worth having this book with the deck, but in projection or just looking at the illustration is also really interesting, as you've got a different way of illustrating cards, like I've seen for the Empress. So this one would be the Fool. The third one. The third one is the Tarot of Holy Light, and for me this is a very, very bright, interesting and profound deck. It is really intellectual. I mean, you've got lots of things in it based on alchemy or Kabbalah. It explains lots of things. Christine Painterless, she did a wonderful job on the book, and I love this deck. I took quite a lot of time doing things with it, reading, and I think until the end of my life I will have to work on it. So the things I like is you've got it's for me this deck is the philosopher. It is the philosopher like in the ancient time when or even now. So when you listen to or you read books of philosophy or you listen to a philosopher, you don't have something very easy to understand immediately. So words are complicated and the notions and so you've got to take a lot of time, you've got to learn a lot to understand, but it is worth because you then question the life and the sense of life and the sense of incarnation and how you perceive the life, and it's not for daily problems, it's for metaphysical problems or metaphysical questions. I don't need to have a problem to go and discuss with this deck, with this philosopher, because it touches the I think what all of us have inside of us. Why existence, why living, and you've got answers from a philosophical point of view, even if it's mystical, because you've got alchemy, you've got lots of alchemy and Kabbalah in the deck, and also Platonical references, and you question, and then you've got more questions, and then you have to think about, and then it nourishes for me this important part of my reflection of why I am here, and for what, and what's the one of my obsession is how life is on what life is built on. So I started with studying chemistry, so how matter is built on. Then I studied psychology, how mind is built on. So this is sort of my obsession, and so this is important for me. And sometimes I really need to go back to this and then think, and then look at what philosophers, what mystics from old times, what they thought, and how they saw the life, and how it is so much interesting today, and also how it influenced new way of thinking, because each time I study this type of old way of thinking, old, it's not the oldest one, it doesn't go from the from the beginning of humanity, but for me this is the beginning of the where people were trying to use their mind, their how do we say, the rational mind, how to use the rational mind to connect the mystical, how to connect and to understand mystical subjects. So this is, well, this deck is really important for me. I have hesitated between this one and other decks that I have seen recently. Where is it? Oh, yes, it's here. So Jean Bochard did also decks. He did Tarot Masonique and Tarot des Alchimistes, Alchemical Tarot, which is only in French. And he did also this kind of job of very academic. It's academic, it's not really easy to understand too, but you've got also the this journey through so the Tarot des Alchimistes, it's alchemical journey, and Masonic is the journey of free Masons. So you've got this idea of the reason for life and the journey and the refining of the person to go more and more to the light and to the divine part and to the philosophical stone. So you see this in both decks. You've got this. So you've got also alchemical representation and explanation, and this is another way of approaching it. So this is a French, the French one, only in French. You've got a big book, but you haven't got that much information on minors. I know that in the English spoken community you better know this one, and on this one you've got very detailed information on the majors, and so you've got lots of symbols coming from the Masonic yes, the Masonic symbols. So it makes me work on these symbols, and for the minors, you've got it's less. You've got interesting things, but you've got less things, so less details, and so I really like this one because you've got also details on the minors. But this one is these two decks from Jean Boschard, it is constructed the same way. I mean, it's an old man who did that, and it's very academical way of writing, so with not easy. It's not so easy to read the books of these decks, and to understand everything, you've got to also work on other books on, for instance, alchemy or Masonic. And so here, Christine, she did a wonderful job, and you've got lots of information on details you can see on the cards, because she explains, you can see this, and it means this and this, so it's more easier. So it would be for this for this tarot, for me it will be the sort of professor of philosophy that you've got in a large library. So it's not very, it doesn't feel quite good going in a journey in the forest and so on. He prefers books. So it would be, for this journey, would be with a huge, maybe a huge bag with lots of books. And he's not funny, he can he doesn't know humor, and just is very severe and very yeah, but when you need something, you have to understand a very complicated enigma, a very complicated enigma, something complicated, then you can ask him, because he knows lots of things, and then he can give very great information, very great understanding on what's going on. So this is the one who knows the most in academic way, and also in a mystical way. It's a really it's a mystic, but it's not very funny. But you need someone like this for your quest. So it also represents my rational, even if it's mystic, it's the rational way I apprehend things. It's not the intuitive way, it's a rational way, and you need to know lots of things and learn a lot and work a lot. You've got this type of part of me in this deck. The third one is the Mysteries of Mary Tarot deck. I know some people showed it also, so I really like this deck, most of all for the book. I think it's really profound, it's really interesting, it's different ways of seeing the Christian spirituality, and as I am Christian, it helps me connect with Christianity without the link with what I have to think, and the Bible and so on. It's a different way of seeing stories of the Bible and so on, and Evangel and so on. So and also it is connected to Mary, and Mary, she's the only archetype, I would say, I connected very young, and even when I was really rejecting the religion, I continued to be connected with her. So she's the mother, but in various. She's not only the mother. She used to be the mother, but now I have. And part of the work I did was with this tarot, seeing other things through Mary, through this archetype, or through this goddess, and through this this mother, this holy mother, and I have seen Mary as yes, she's the mother. She protects you. You've got the mantle, the blue mantle. She's also the wise one. She's also the one who pushes you to change, to transform, and also, and all the more, this deck for me is the representation of the incarnation. I mean, just as Jesus, he was the incarnation of the Son of God, as we are incarnation of the divine. And then we see how difficult incarnation is. It talks about the difficulty of incarnation and why, and the sense of it. And I find it really nourishing and really, it's not a fluffy deck, it's a deck talking about reality and difficulty of being alive, and challenge, and also beauty of being alive. And it talks a lot about duality. In my mind, I feel it about what is duality, and what the duality between the divine and the incarnation, and what is the faith, and what are we believing in. And so if I would say what kind of person it is, I would have this view of this is could be Marie Madeleine as Marie Madeleine as the oh, what's the name? Apôtre? I don't know what's the person around Jesus. They were only men, but we suppose that Marie Madeleine was part of this of these people around Jesus. So she's the apôtre in French. I don't know the word in English. Maybe it's the same. So she is she has learned from Jesus, and Jesus for me is a representation of love, of a connection, of deep connection between us, and of the lovely part of us. So this is for me it is a love. A love. This tarot is love. It represents love, and it represents incarnation and the challenge to be in love with the incarnation, to have a sense of incarnation, and to make love grow, and to make this work we have to do spiritualization of the matter and incarnation of the spirit. So there is this in this deck, and I really love it. So I've taken quite a lot of time with it. Most of the time I take lots of time with this type of deck, and then so I work, I think of it, I write and make research from myself, because I like to add personal things on decks, and then I just have a sort of a need to take some distance, and then I don't work with it anymore for a certain period of time. To yes, I talked about the cauldron, so to put everything in the cauldron and let it heat and transform to a tool that is more and more efficient for me and interesting for me. I have, where is it? I have done this. I did a book to work on what I learned from the original text from Mary. I mean, I like the work Etienne did is really interesting and really bright and brilliant, but I need to make this work mine. So most of the time I did the same for the Tower of Holy Lights, and also for the Masonic Tarot. I go to the original text. So I went studying the text and see what in the traditional text there were what was said about Mary, and what was said about what are the epithets, what is the mantle of Mary, when did it appear, from what, from there are things that appeared from that are not so ancient, that appeared from I don't know, a painting, and then it had a painting had a great during the Renaissance. The painting had a great impact on the Catholic Church because of for instance, a Pope that was really touched by this painting, and then you have something that was added to Mary. Archetype, I say archetype, I prefer, because lots of people are seeing her quite different way, and there are many things beside in the term of Mary. So this one would be the Mary as the Mary Magdalene, the one who was with Jesus and learned from Jesus and learned from love and learned from what is like to be alive and suffering, and what is the duality of life, and how can we work on this earth with this with having a divine part and a material part, and so on. So the seventh one is the Serpent Fire Tarot. So this is the only one I use. No, I also use the other one, but this one I use for others. I can pick it. The guidebook is very small, which is quite different from others. Why would I choose it? It's because this one is it gives it gives me information about it gives me quick information. I mean, so I think I am quite touched by the writing of the author, because we had some similar issues, psychological similar issues, and so so maybe a way of seeing things through the cards and the tarot. It's there are lots of details on cards, so you can talk about details and go from what you see on the cards and then read the little book. But I think the power of this deck is the little book. So this deck is giving me quite really it's rapid. I've got a quick answer through this deck. I take it and I've got the answer. So it would be, so I've said okay, the tricky one, the Fool, and so on. So this one would be in a role play in my guild. It would be for the journey, the one who's doing things rapidly. So I said in French, I think the thief. So not because he's stealing things, but because he can open doors rapidly, because he's got lots of instruments and he knows how to open closed doors. And is rapid. The aim is to do it rapidly, because sometimes you need to have rapid response. You don't have a year to think about the subject. You have okay, in 5 minutes you need an answer. And so this would be this kind of deck. So he's really smart. He gives rapid answers, and it's in the point. I mean, there's not a lot of things, but you've got keywords that are really well chosen keywords, upright meaning, and shadow meaning, and then you've got a mantra. So it's really a little mantra. So it's really rapid. It's really on the point, a bright description of the card, and you've got links to the to astrology, but in this card I don't use it most of the time. Maybe sometime I will do. And also it is linked to Egypt, and I've got a profound link with Egypt. It's something. Yes, when I see Egyptian references, it touches me. So this part of me, and reminds me all the things I have lived in Egypt 20 years ago, and also this year. So sorry, I look at the cards and don't show it to you. And it's not the at the level of art. It's not my favorite one. I collect tarot and oracles, and also this is the aim. I show also lots of decks. This is the aim of my channel. And it's not the favorite type of art, but I find the cards are speaking to me. They are speaking to me quite easily. So even if sometimes you wonder, you say, yeah, two of Wands. What's the link, for instance, with the Rider-Waite tarot? And but I like this way of challenging also myself and seeing things in another way, but it gives me quite rapid answers. Also, I think Alice Tarot gives me also rapid answers, but this one is the thief with who can open doors quite quickly and easily. And then the last one. The last one is the Numinous Tarot. I love this deck, and it is a really wise counselor, and it is full of love, full of delicatessen, full of gentleness, and so it's a queer deck, but I have not chosen this deck because it is a queer deck. I have chosen it because I love what's in the deck. I'm not queer, but there are two decks that really speak to me, the Next World Tarot and this one, the Numinous Tarot. I have hesitated between both, but the Next World Tarot is more talking about traumatism and how to survive to traumatism. So it talks to me as I've got post-traumatic stress, and it is full of revendication and a battle, sort of battle, and it's in a post-apocalyptic world. This one is full of love, and this one speaks about tolerance, about living together, about accepting emotions, about being close to others, having compassion, trying to understand others. You've got the books. I love there are tomes suite. Because here you've got, I love this card, you've got a man who is looking at a book with plants, and so it's for me it is a healing deck. It's a really powerful healing deck, and I can be all the person I see on the deck. There's no, it doesn't speak about gender. I mean, I can be this person, I can be I can be this person, I can be all the person I can see on the deck, and I see myself in all the representation in this one also. I love this tenderness. I love there is education, books and education, because through education we change the world, and we change the way we see things. And you've got also light with the candles. You've got the music of life through the bells, and this deck is full of life and gives life, and so it will be the healer of my company, of my company. So, and this is a deck I use a lot. I use for me and others, and it's also a deck I can have quite rapid answers with it. So here it is. My company is going with on the life's journey with a healer. It's going with a sort of trickster, or not a trickster, a fool. And also I've got Gandalf, and I've got a witch with a cauldron, and I've got Marie-Madeleine, and all the knowledge she had from the loving energies. I've got the teeth who can open doors rapidly, and I've got the serious, very serious philosopher, and he can solve complicated questions. And so that's it. I have shown one, two, yeah. And so I hope you were interested by my video. I hope you understood what I said, because sometimes I had difficulties to find the proper English word. And thank you for all people who did this video. It's really interesting. Thank you for Natalia for this tag, and see you maybe for the next video in English. Bye.